Welcome, everyone, to the bonus episode of the Undisputed Nerds Podcast, Tips and Bits. I am the Gentlemanly Gamer. He is my compadre, the Zane Show, and you are here to get all of this week's hottest news from the world of nerd and all kinds of other stuff. This is a show that we do supplementary to our podcast, Undisputed Nerds, which you can find on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you would find podcasts, and also on our main YouTube channel, Undisputed Nerds. So go check it out. We're talking about Andor this week. Got some interesting things to say. Give myself, as well as a fight about the sister show. Anyway, Zane.
Yes.
Zane, it's tips and bits time, baby. So for those who are not initiated into this, I split tips and bits into three sections. We've got MISC, we've got Marvel, we've got DC. You pick one, we go through them, and we discuss. So, Zaney, baby, how you doing? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. It's been a while since we've done some tips and bits, right?
I know. I'm vibed for it. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what weird people have got to say in the world of nerd. So, I will say we've got a lot of Marvel. We've got a bit of DC, and we've got a bit of MISC. So, take your choice.
Start off with some MISC.
Let's start off with some MISC. Right. All right. This isn't really comic book movie, but it kind of is. It's almost comic adjacent, so we'll go with it. But James Bond, we all love James Bond. We did a review of No Time to Die. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed it. Well, it was clearly a time to die because, spoiler alert, Daniel Craig's not coming back. So the James Bond producers, they've given a bit of an update on what they're looking for in the next James Bond. So there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation going around. Is it going to be Henry Cavill? Is it going to be Tom Holland?
Tom Holland?
Yeah, that's a legit thing. Tom Holland was a bookie's favorite recently to be James Bond. Exactly. Yes. So this is what Barbara Broccoli has said. The thing is, it's going to be a couple of years off, and when we cast Bond, it's a 10 to 12 year commitment. So he's probably thinking, do I really want that thing? Not everyone wants to do that. It was hard enough getting Daniel Craig to do it. A lot of people think, oh yeah, it'd be fun to do one. And then she laughs and says, well, that ain't going to work. Wilson then chimed in and added, it's a big investment for us too to bring out a new Bond. That's why when people go, oh, are you going to get so-and-so, so-and-so? It's not just about casting an actor for a film. It's about a reinvention and where are we taking it? What do we want to do with the character? And then once we figure that out, who's the right person for that particular reinvention? But it's a big commitment and it's not just showing up for a couple of months of filming. We're trying to keep it theatrical. Well, we're just going to keep it theatrical. We're not going to try. We've got to do it. It's just a theatrical franchise. So basically, I think what that means is that pretty much eliminates Idris Elba, Henry Cavill, and any other kind of slightly, unless they want to go the Roger Moore route and start wheeling him out for the final movies.
Wow.
I mean, Roger, he was being held together with duct tape by the time A View to a Kill came around, I think. What are you laughing at, Zane?
Your hot takes are very hot.
I think I love Roger Moore greatly. I think he's incredible, and for a long time, he was my favorite Bond for a long time. However, a long time ago before I grew up. But then, he, I think he, let's just say he used a particular kind of varnish on that delightful, tanned skin of his.
It's true,
and it held him together for all those years. Money penny. Come on, what's your takes? No, I was going to ask you. Who do you want to be James Bond?
I think I'd want.
Tom Hardy's out now as well.
Yeah. I think it's in my head. I think of two, which is Richard Madden.
I love that.
I think that he'd be really good.
He would be great.
Or another Richard, which is Richard Armitage.
Okay. No, Richard Madden. Yes. No, I know who you mean. Yeah. Is he the one who played the dwarf?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a very strong look.
Mm.
Madden is fantastic, and I'm not talking
Mm.
about John Madden. I'm talking about Richard Madden. That is like, Rob Stark. That is a perfect. Yes,
Icarus himself. Yeah.
Icarus himself. Yeah, hate that film. Yes, you've sold me on that, Zane. 100%. Cast him.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Come on,
Okay.
Barbara Broccoli. Get him on board. Get him in. Richard Madden. Let's do it.
But I heard like a lot of bookies' favourites was is it Reggie, the guy from Bridgerton, um, Reggie
Oh,
Jean Paul or something like that.
yeah, that guy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, sure, cool.
Mm.
Anyway, Richard Madden or nothing. Anyway, moving on. So, Zane, this one we're going to talk about. Well, I know it's a particular favorite movie of yours, and you
Oh.
can hear the sarcasm in my voice when I say it. But well, we're not far off from the sequel to the blockbuster, box office busting, award-winning
Mm.
Avatar,
Oh
Avatar
yeah.
2: The Way of Water.
Hmm.
Well, thank God that there's been some news about it, Zane, because James
Thank God.
Cameron has been in the news and he's been talking to the New York Times, and he's questioning whether or not he left it too late to release the sequels. Spoiler alert: he did. But here's what James Cameron had to say. I think I could have made a sequel 2 years later and have it bomb because people didn't relate to the characters or the direction of the film. My personal experience goes like this. I made a sequel called Aliens 7 years after the first movie. It was very well received. I made a sequel called Terminator 2. Judgment Day. You didn't say Judgment Day. Get it right, Cameron. 7 years after the first movie. It did an order of magnitude. It did an order of magnitude of more in revenue than the first film. That's a direct quote from him. I was a little concerned that I had stretched the tether too far out in our fast-paced modern world with Avatar 2 coming out 12 years later. That was right until we dropped the teaser trailer and we got 148 million views in 24 hours. That's there's that scarce seen but wondered at principle, which is, wow, we haven't seen that in a long time, but I remember how cool it was back then. Does that play in our favor? I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out. So, Zane,
Mm.
James Cameron is basing his box office budget off of the trailer for a film sequel that is 12 years old now. Um, I'm not going to knock him. It's worked before.
Hmm.
Apparently, as well, just to throw in this bit of news as well, he's re-released Avatar, the first one, again
Hmm.
into the
Yeah.
cinemas again, and there's a post-credits sting on it now for The Way of Water.
Is there?
Thoughts, Zane, on one of your favorite films of all time, Avatar, getting a sequel?
Um, it is what it is. Like, I'll no doubt watch it to, see what it's about and such. I guess what's more interesting to me is the amount of people. I'm going to sound really old, but like, there's a generation of people on TikTok and such who've never seen Avatar until now. Like,
Yeah.
it's their first time seeing it in cinemas and such because they were obviously so young when the first time it came around.
Yeah.
So yeah, that really bamboozled me a little
You
bit.
can kind
Like,
of argue the same thing, I guess, with Star Wars because they re-released Star Wars with the new special editions in the cinema in like
mm,
'97. So I guess you kind of see that. But yeah, I agree with you. It's ridiculous, isn't it? The Avatar. It's very interesting to point out as well, though. I read I read the Guardian quite often. They did a film review of the re-release of Avatar in
right.
2009 when the first one came out.
Uh-huh.
It got a 5 out of 5 stars.
Mm.
When they reviewed the re-release, it got 2 out of 5. And
Wow.
I can't remember which review it was. It was in the Guardian, so go and have a look, guys. But the reasoning that the guy said was this film has not aged well at all, and the wonder that we had for the technology that was 20 or how many years ago it was, is
Hmm.
now old hat and doesn't stand up with a very boring, simplistic story. And I was like, yes, this man's my hero. Please say that about The Way of Water. I want to hear that as well. Rubbishly simplistic story, just awful. It's just, I can't. I hate Avatar. Right, moving on then, Zane. So you've got your DC news or you've got your Marvel news. Pick your poison.
Should we do DC news so that way we just settle on Marvel in the end?
Okie dokie. So DC news. This might be a bit like Misk DC adjacent. It's Vertigo, so it's the Sandman. So there's been rumors abound about what's going on with Sandman because the second series has not been confirmed. It's not been renewed. I mixed renewed and confirmed and came up with confused. There's concerns that it will not be renewed. Well, Neil Gaiman has dropped a little thing on Twitter to update us on what the status is. This is Neil Gaiman's Twitter post. He said, Sandman Season 1 dropped on August the 5th. The data harvesting has only just finished and is complicated by a lot of people not binge watching it, but spreading it out, letting episodes sink in before watching the next one. Telling at Netflix to hurry up won't make decisions happen any faster. So it sounds like they are concerned because obviously Sandman was not a cheap thing to make.
No.
And Netflix are notoriously twitchy about starting, second runs of things if it's very expensive. So it sounds like they're just getting the analytics in now. Zane, what are your thoughts on this? Do you want to see a second season of Sandman? And if it doesn't get picked up by Netflix, would you like to see it picked up somewhere else?
Yes. To both of those questions. I thought it was fantastic. I could see why people took their time with it. It is an interesting one, isn't it? Because it's, as you say, Netflix get a bit funny when it comes to renewing or setting up second or third seasons. I guess what's interesting is, and I know Neil's been very vocal about it, is that they could just take the IP and go somewhere else with it if need be. I wonder how much other places might, buy it. Like Amazon Prime, would they be like?
I mean,
We
Amazon are
definitely need
running a
that.
little bit out of money after the Lord of the Rings debacle, aren't they? I mean, come on.
And Twitch this week.
Right, I know, yeah. Let's not talk about that. Hey, I get cheaper payouts. That's all I care about on Twitch. So whatever. I would love to see Sandman season 2. I think it's definitely got legs. It's just whether or not a studio, be it Netflix or someone else, invests in it. But
I mean, the good news I've heard off the back of this is that a lot more people are buying the comic book version because they want to know where it goes. Yeah, and especially like they've re-released these new trade versions as well. I think it's been really a good credit to it.
You might find Warner Brothers picks it up and puts it as part of HBO Max if that it would slot quite nicely into the comic booky side of that. So we shall see. All right. So good Lord Almighty, Zane, your king on high, Zack Snyder. He's been at it again.
What's Zack been up to?
Gracious me. Well, all right. I'm gonna read this entire post because it is bizarre, like absolutely bizarre. Right. The 365th episode of Teen Titans Go, the animated cartoon series, featured an appearance from Batman vs. Superman director Zack Snyder, who put his dark and gritty spin on the Titans. He's put his spin on the Teen Titans, and it was announced in July that the Man of Steel and Batman v Superman director would be featured on Teen Titans Go as himself. Now the unexpected crossover has arrived. Teen Titans Go recently reached its milestone 365th episode in its 7th season, appropriately titled 365. 365 sees the young team of heroes go to the Warner Brothers lot looking for a director for their landmark episode. There they come across Zack Snyder, who proceeds to give them a makeover, depicting Robin, Raven, Starfire, Cyborg, and Beast Boy in dark and gritty animation style. The Titans then face Darkseid and the forces of Apocalypse in a scene reminiscent of Justice League's flashback battle between the villain and humankind's united forces. Clips
Hmm.
from the sequence have been shared on Twitter, which also show Snyder poking fun at himself and his signature visual flair. Now, this is what you might not know about this, though.
Mm.
Unsurprisingly, or perhaps unsurprisingly, Snyder's Teen Titans Go appearance prompted the Restore the Snyderverse movement to pop back up on social media. The hashtag began trending again at the time of the episode's release, something that has happened various times since, before, and after the release of Justice League in March
Hmm.
2021. They won't let it go, Zane. Restore the Snyderverse is back again, this time after Zack Snyder appeared in a cartoon. Thoughts on this? You're just gagging for more Batfleck, aren't you?
um, have you actually seen Teen Titans Go? I haven't
Yes.
watched. Have you seen
I've
the
not
movie?
seen the whole thing, but I haven't seen 365.
Okay,
My nephew watches it, so I try and keep up to date a little bit on it.
gotcha. I haven't watched the actual show, but I've seen like the movie, and the movie was quite funny. Like I was quite surprised, like how it was quite meta for it, and B, like the slapstick is actually well delivered.
It is. I will say this is. I mean, it is confusing watching that at the same time as watching Netflix's Titans.
Mm.
You know, because when I say to my nephew, "Oh, did you like it when Robin said F Batman?" and he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Never mind, wrong show. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Move on."
Uh,
Do you
but
like
in
it
the
when Red Hood murdered that guy? What?
but I like in the movie they have Stan Lee make a cameo.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
It's just-
it's great. It's great.
Yeah, it's really fun.
All right. So yeah. Anyway, just drop it with the Restore the Snyderverse guys. Seriously, like it's just let it go. Honestly, it's
Never.
done. It is done. It is done. All right, so that's the end of the DC news. That's all we had for DC. So moving on, we've got some wacky Marvel news to kick us off this week. So Zane, I'm about to ask you to share something, which I sent you a link to earlier on. So the Sony universe, it's expanding, Zane. It's
Hmm.
expanding. You thought that they were just going to limit Venom and Morbius to what they actually were. Well, if you open up the link, you will see that Tom Hardy is expanding out his role to become the master of the martial arts. Tom Hardy has entered a jiu-jitsu competition and won, winning all of his matches. He is now the master of jiu-jitsu. For those of us who are looking at it on YouTube, oh, he looks ever so rugged. Oh, he's a sexy man. Oh. Tom Hardy entered the 2022 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Open Championship in Milton Keynes, and he won the gold prize. Everyone recognized him, but this was from a spokesperson for the martial arts championship.
Hmm.
Everyone recognized him, but he was very humble and was happy to take time out for people to take photographs with him. It was a real pleasure to have him compete at our event. And then Hardy's final opponent, Andre Leatherland, which just sounds like a supervillain himself, told the Daily Mail that he entered the competition after realizing that the actor had signed up under his legal name, Edward Hardy. This was a quote from Andre Leatherland, the famous now supervillain. I was contemplating the Milton Keynes tournament as it was very local, and then one morning, he goes by the name Edward Harvey. I saw that he'd actually signed up. The intensity that he brought to his movie roles, he brought that with him. He didn't say a word. He didn't say anything. I made a mistake and he capitalized on that. He absolutely nailed it, and he subbed me. I'm assuming he means submission, as in
Yeah.
tapped out. And it was over relatively quickly. Tom Hardy himself posted about how he got over addiction and mental health challenges by entering jiu-jitsu, and it's a very noble thing. It's a good thing to read. Check it out. I won't do it justice by quoting him, so I'm not going to, but check it out on his Instagram. It's a very inspirational post. Zane, what do you think of Tom Hardy being the master of the jiu-jitsu arts?
It's really interesting because a couple of weeks ago he was in another tournament, and like people had captured footage of him during these like bouts. So he's really like well, obviously not only from winning a gold medal, but if you watch some of his fights, he's actually like knowledgeable in the art and such. It's
Oh yeah,
really
man.
interesting to see. But I know quite a few actors. Like I'm pretty sure Henry Cavill's into Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Is he?
Yeah, like on his Instagram, you can see he takes photos of
Oh,
him in his gi and posing and such, which is really cool.
that
I got to show
explains
you.
why. Yeah, I guess that explains why he's also ripped to the tits. So there. Is he still in a jiu-jitsu trance? Is that what he gets into to murder his opponents? Either that, or he's having a flashback to when he did the Dark Knight Rises, and everyone was taking the mick out of his Bane voice.
What a lovely singing voice.
Nobody knew who I was before I put on the mask.
Ra's al Ghul's destiny.
That's what he said right when it started. It's like they took a bow, and he just goes, "It will be extremely painful for you." Yeah. Anyway, let's
that's that thought of why did I do Mad Max?
Mad Max is great. How dare you? Hush your mouth, young boy. How dare you? Honestly, Mad Max's Fury Road is brilliant. What a day! What a lovely day! Right. So moving on from Tom Hardy and his wacky way, he's like, I can't believe they're making me do Venom 3. That's what he's thinking in his head there. That's what that look is. Armor Wars, Zane. There's been a lot of news about Don Cheadle being in Armor Wars and how he's not going to replace Iron Man, which I don't know who the hell was suggesting that he might replace Iron Man. That's a stupid thing. But yeah, anyway, apparently he's going to get multiple suits in Armor Wars. He's going to get multiple different
fun.
design War Machine suits. And also,
Yeah.
so we know that Yasser Lester has already been tapped as the show's head writer. However, joining him will be Raina McClellan and Lakeitha Dalclo, as well as Garrick Bernard and Emma Fletcher. The reason why this is interesting and noteworthy is that these are some of the writers from the Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
Oh.
Also Solar Opposites as well, which I'm not sure. I haven't seen that series, as well as Parks and Recreation, which I find hilarious as well. So some writers from Parks and Rec, but majority from Obi-Wan Kenobi. So once again, we've got this weird bleed over between Marvel and Star Wars, where we're getting actors and writers and directors crossing over from franchise to franchise. Based on the writing that went into Obi-Wan, does this excite you, this news that they're going to be on Armor Wars? What are your thoughts? And are you pumped for Armor Wars as a series?
I'm really hopeful that Armor Wars is good. As silly as that sounds, like obviously I have a love for mech anime, and
Do you?
Iron Man is probably the closest thing to that. But I've always had this vision of loads. It's kind of like the end sequence of Iron Man 2, where all the droids are trying to battle Iron Man and War Machine, and I kind of hope that happens, but on a bigger scale. And I'm just kind of hopeful of that more than anything. It's just like a big set piece of just senseless robot mech fighting. I'm a simple man with simple pleasures.
Yeah, you are. I mean, if I was going to call you very simple, no, I don't know. Yes and no. I think there is something to say of like, can you really do an Armor Wars without Iron Man? Does it really
It's
work?
a great story. Yeah, it's a shame it never got to the big screen, but here we are.
It's like the Kenny Omega Punk thing, we're talking about recently, and it's just like like some of the stuff that's happened is like it's been amazing, but isn't it a shame that we're not going to see this? That's exactly. It's like, isn't it a shame that we're never going to see the Demon in the Bottle storyline with Iron Man? Isn't it a shame? Isn't it a shame we're never going to see Iron Man battle the mandolin? Mandolin? Isn't it a shame that we're never going to see Iron Man learn the mandolin, the wonderful instrument? Yeah, he's not gonna fight the Mandarin. His immortal enemy. Yeah, go on.
This is kind of a tangent, but this week I actually watched some of the old San Diego Comic Con panel like stuff for the MCU. So like
Nice, yeah.
when RDJ comes out and like
With the roses and stuff.
the roses, yeah, and Brolin came out with the gauntlet and all that stuff.
And then Hiddleston comes out as Loki.
Yeah, I I was like, oh, I really miss the OG sort of like,
I told you, man. I told you.
yeah,
This is the problem, and this is the problem they have, and this is why Kamala Khan is really good casting, and I really like her, and she's
mm,
really endearing. But like, man, they really need to they need to get a handle on the core Avengers again and build out from it. Like, it's not there's too much stuff flying everywhere, and the thing that made the Avengers fun was that it felt like whether or not they were in real life, it doesn't matter. But like,
hmm
all of the Avengers felt like they were friends, or like at least compatriots, and they were fighting together and trying to save the world together. And it doesn't feel like that right now. It just feels like it's random people shoved together, and it's like, oh, are they going to help each other? Who knows? Woo!
I
You know?
just remember being so excited for some of those projects, like, you know, love it or hate it, Iron Man 3, I was so excited for. I was
Yeah.
so excited for when they announced it and such.
Do you
Um,
think? I mean, do you think that's indicative of the fact that like the comic book bubble is slightly bursting now? Because
mm,
we've seen. I mean, Endgame gave us everything.
mhm.
You know, like it's going to be hard to top that.
Yeah,
So like, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, oh yeah, we've seen all this before. Meh. It's like Black Adam. If this had been 10 years ago,
yeah,
maybe even 15, I would have been super hyped for Black Adam after reading
mhm,
like 52 and then World War Three. You know, I would have been
yeah,
super hyped for that. Now I'm just like, eh.
yeah. I guess it's a mix of things, isn't it? Like we know it's not going to be a straight, adaptation of whatever it is, of whatever storyline from the comics. We know like not every Marvel thing can be incredible, or every comic book movie can be sensational, like the first Avengers movie, or like
Mhm.
Guardians of the Galaxy was. Like it's just kind of like one of those things. Like, plus there's more of it being churned out than ever before. 9 projects a year. That's massive.
Yeah, it's almost like there's too much content now to
Mm.
consume. It's like She-Hulk is kind of one of the like we'll I'll tangent very briefly just to talk about this, but like
Hmm.
I've enjoyed She-Hulk, but it's certainly not been like it's not been much. It's weird because like it's for me,
Hmm.
it's more like I'm watching it for who's going to be in it. I'm not watching it because it's She-Hulk. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
And I like Tatiana Maslany a lot. Like, I think she's amazing, and she's a very nice lady.
Hmm.
Um, but like, I just don't care really. You know, I just don't care. Ms. Marvel, I watched because I really enjoyed it, and I did care about Kamala Khan. I thought it was really good, and it did a really good job of establishing that I really want to root for this person and have her win. Same with
Yeah.
Moon Knight. I really wanted Moon Knight to win, and I loved Steven, like, as a character. I thought he was wonderful and endearing. So like, it's interesting. I just think they've got a problem with likable characters, really. You
Mm.
know, and these godlike be like, I think that might be why people have fallen out of in love with Thor, because it's like there's good looking and dumb, endearing, and then there's good looking and dumb, annoying. And I
Yeah.
think he's gone from being good looking and dumb, endearing in Thor Ragnarok and in Endgame and Infinity War, to now in Love and Thunder, good looking and dumb, quite annoying. And it's
Yeah.
like, wait, you're the king of Asgard, or like you're the heir apparent to Asgard,
Mm.
and you're an absolute dunce. What are you doing? Sort your life out. Don't just
Hmm.
like, don't give your powers to kids and make them fight. That's the worst thing you can do. What's wrong with you? Honestly, they're going to be
Yeah.
giving super wedgies to each other before the end of the night.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It's a real fall from grace in my eyes.
I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor. You know,
Mm.
same as I love Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye. I
Hmm.
you know, it, I'm very happy to see Charlie Cox. I genuinely think Charlie Cox as Daredevil could bring a lot of happy familiarity whilst also being fresh to Marvel, the MCU
Yeah.
specifically. And I think that judging by what they've done so far, it does feel like they are building this phase around Tom Holland being the linchpin of this universe, where it's like he's kind of interacting with lots of different people, and he's the one who's teaching the other Spider-Men how to be Avengers. He proves himself the better of Doctor Strange, on
Yeah.
multiple different occasions during that film. And it's like he's coming through as like a leader, of the team. So I feel like that they're structuring it more around him leading the Avengers with Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange, the other two kind of center stage. It just feels so disjointed at the moment. Like it just
Yeah.
feels all over the place. Are you doing 3 Avengers teams? Are you doing a Mystic, Cosmic, and a street level Avengers team? What's going on? And it's these kind of things that we need to get answers to, really.
Yeah, it's interesting that you should say Tom Holland, because at the moment I feel like everything's. I feel like Wong's the linchpin of the MCU at the moment. Like
He's
Wong's the he's
again
the
though
Carson, isn't he?
stupid. He's an idiot. Have you seen? I mean, in She-Hulk, he's a moron.
Mm-hmm.
So oh, yeah, just nick Abomination from prison and put him back. Yeah, it's all right. Like, what are you talking about, Wong? You're not a moron. You live in New York. You
You know
dope.
what a subway is?
Exactly. You have enough. You have enough foresight to be able to walk out and say, maybe I'll go get a tuna melt. But you don't realize that taking the Abomination out of prison is a crime. Wong? More like Dong. Anyway, as in dong to his head. Yeah, I don't know. I think Wong is more like Wong's more filling in for a. Actually, I'll tell you what, Shang-Chi's more of a leader role as well. But I would like to see him interact more with other people. I think that's the other
Yeah.
side I want to see. But I think Wong's more the Agent Coulson of the universe at
Yeah.
the moment. He's the one who's kind of interceding between all of them and linking things together, much like Phil did in the first Phil, like I know him personally, much like Phil Coulson did in the first phase. Anyway, we've done a massive tangent on the Avengers and where that's going, but that's good. That's good because we're talking more about Avengers and specifically X-Men next. So, obviously, Marvel Studios acquired the rights to the X-Men franchise back in 2017 during the Disney Fox merger, but that was 5 years ago. And there's been no news on mutants ever since, even though we have had Kamala Khan confirmed as the MCU's first known mutant in Miss Marvel. But we are clearly a long way off from seeing the uncanny X-Men in this shared world. Well, as it stands, doesn't look like they're going to show up anytime soon before Secret Wars. But a new rumor has been shared by Screen Geek, and it claims to reveal some new intel about Marvel Studios' plans, which are slightly controversial. I will say this, Zane. So, according to the site, and please do take this with a massive pinch of salt, guys, because it's a huge rumor. Joss Whedon and John Cassidy's astonishing X-Men will be used as the bassist for the eventual reboot, meant as a course correction for the series after Grant Morrison's bleak new X-Men run. The title saw the team embrace being superheroes again, ditching the black leather for colorful costumes. The roster was made up of Cyclops, Emma Frost, Wolverine, Beast, Shadowcat, and Colossus, whilst the series also introduced the superhero Armor. The main focus was the team trying to stop an alien race from destroying Earth, along with the Danger Room coming to life to kill them, and a mutant cure being revealed to the world. The odds are, and this is what the site is reporting, had Whedon not dropped the ball with Justice League and been surrounded by damaging claims about inappropriate behavior on sets of his movies and TV shows, it's very likely Marvel Studios would have liked him to write and direct this X-Men reboot. He did deliver 2 hits for them with the Avengers and Age of Ultron.
I see.
thoughts on Zane potentially Marvel touching quite controversial figures like Joss Whedon again, who was one of the people who brought them to the dance, but also has, as noted, had quite a bad downfall. What are your thoughts on it potentially being around that Astonishing X-Men run? Would you like to see it? Go for it.
So, funny enough, someone actually sent me like a screenshot or, of that sort of news article saying, mentioning that. And the armor introduction, I can really understand, like introducing that character and, that could be like,
So here's when I read that, I
mm,
was like, they're going to replace that armor character with Ms. Marvel, and she'll be in it.
nice. I
Because
like
you and
that.
I had that comment when we did the review of Ms. Marvel that her powers were
Mm,
exactly like Armor's powers now.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Uh, yeah. So the armor side of it, I really could understand. Um, could they adapt that particular run? I guess they could, but here's the funny thing. So comic book writers and artists. So famously, I think we may have mentioned it before on the show. The comic book writer who created the Winter Soldier has been
Yes.
very vocal about how much they get paid for these characters to be used in movies and the MCU as a whole, and it's not as much as you may think. Like
It's
we're
not
only
fair, no.
talking a couple of $100, um,
Yeah, it's really
and,
not a
and
lot.
so if they were to give him his writer's credit, um, it wouldn't be a substantial amount for it. But I get the sense that they would do the Hickman X-Men
See, I thought that
story.
as well. I really thought they'd do that. I just don't know if it's too wacky. That's the only thing. It is pretty out there, to be
It
fair.
is, yeah.
I guess it depends if they want to have the X-Men be these kind of like. I think it depends because in the Hickman stuff, the X-Men are their own. They are their own. They're
Yeah,
their own
yeah.
nation. They're their own. They do not bow for anyone. They
Hmm.
are very much like dominant life forms, like and legitimately playing into the fear of like they will make humanity extinct in the Hickman
Mm,
runs. So I think that's quite a boss move to put them straight in as that. I think it's
yeah.
probably much more likely that we're going to see the hated by humanity,
Hmm.
struggling to get by, persecuted mutant side of things first. I think it's a lot more likely. I'm not saying we wouldn't get the Hickman universe established at some point within the world, but I think it's much more likely to have this persecution situation with the X-Men because they're different, they're persecuted, but they still want to help us. I think it's much more likely to get a more traditional view on that, personally speaking.
Yeah, and with all cards on the table, if I was Feige, I would probably stick to a Claremont sort of run because
Yeah,
it's
100%.
the thing that gets adapted the most into the cartoons. It's the costumes that everyone recognize. The Claire doing a Claremont movie or
Yeah.
based off would be the safe option,
I,
hundred
I
percent.
legitimately I legitimately think you could very easily have a uh you've already established a good guy going bad with Scarlet Witch.
Hmm.
Um they could very easily do the Dark Phoenix saga correctly this time,
Mm,
but Phoenix could affect all of the MCU, not just the X-Men. It could be a global event, a global extinction event, as it really probably should be.
yeah,
Um, but also there's the Shi'ar Empire. It's the
yeah.
entire Shi'ar Empire that they've got back now. There's Onslaught, the combination of Professor X and Magneto, who was a big deal, a very big deal. Apocalypse, if done right, if done well, Age of Apocalypse is a ripe for film story arc that they could very easily do. Um, so many good stories within X-Men.
Hmm.
God, the Phalanx, the
Yeah.
Brood, um, Krakoa.
I was just thinking, do you remember in Astonishing, there's the character who had the sort of dome helmet with the X on it, and it was supposed to be like this whole new character and everything, and then it turns out to be Magneto. But he went under like
Zorn.
a
You're talking about
Zorn.
Zorn. Yeah,
Yeah.
Zorn. The man with the yeah, that was a cool arc. It was in New X-Men, wasn't it? That was New X-Men, I think it
Was it
was.
New X-Men? I thought it
Yeah,
was
I'm pretty sure it was New X-Men. Yeah, Zorn was supposed to be. He was supposed to have his head was a star or a sun or something like that. Like his actual head
yeah.
was his mutant power was his head was a star, and so he had to keep it contained within this thing. And then yeah, later on it turns out it was Magneto all along playing Charles Xavier, and he was on this weird super drug. And that's the book where the inspiration. So in X-Men 3, he rips the X-Men 3, the terrible one with director Brett
Yes.
Ratner. He rips the Golden Gate Bridge off. That was inspired by the new X-Men run, because he does that in the new X-Men run to show how powerful he is.
I see.
Yeah, that's a great read. That new X-Men run is fantastic as well. It's really, really good. But yeah, there's so many. Give me this then, Zane. Give me this.
hmm
Who is your call for the first lineup of the MCU X-Men team?
Yikes. it- so I definitely have to have Rogue, Storm, Cyclops.
Interesting.
Rogue, Storm, Cyclops. Um, Wolverine and Beast. And maybe Jean. I'm not 100% sure yet. Maybe
Okay,
Jean.
all right, good. Is that Jean using her psychic powers?
Well, if Jean's there, half of it's just going to be them screaming, "No, Jean,
Jane.
Jean!"
All right, interesting. Yeah, interesting. There's some picks in there that I wasn't expecting you to pick, so that's cool. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
Gambit in yours.
No, no. Mine would be Cyclops, Jean Grey,
Mm,
Professor X. Obviously, is part of that.
yeah.
Goes without saying. Um, my mind's gone blank. Angel,
Okay.
like proper Angel, Beast,
Yeah.
and then probably I don't think they should put Wolverine in the original crew. I don't think they
Yeah.
should put Wolverine in the first lot. I think they should put Storm. I agree with. They should put Storm
Mm,
in there and Nightcrawler.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think besides Wolverine, I think Nightcrawler is probably the most popular X-Men besides Wolverine. I think. I could be wrong on that, but I
I
think
can
he is.
see that.
He is one of
Yeah.
the ones that the most universally liked, and his powers are cool as well.
Powers are very cool. I think there's a lot of love for Kitty Pryde. I never realized
Yeah,
how
yeah.
popular.
Shadowcat's awesome. Actually, Shadowcat
Mm,
and Colossus I could see in there as well. Actually, thinking about it, maybe take out Beast and Storm, and put
yeah.
in Shadowcat and Colossus. Yeah, look, it's tough. It's tough to have that first lineup and get it
Mm,
right. So I guess we'll just have to see, and we'll have to see where they go. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I can't wait for MCU X-Men. That's going to be fantastic. It's going to be so good to see. All right, final bit of news for today then, and we'll round it off. Captain America: New World Order. It was confirmed at
hmm
Disney Day, and the director Julius Onah has been having a conversation. He's been talking to Screen Rant,
hmm
and it seems like he has confirmed who is going to be the new Falcon in the MCU.
Yes.
And he's confirmed that Danny Ramirez will suit up as the MCU's new Falcon, and shares his excitement to see the dynamic between the two. Danny Ramirez only had a minor role in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's previously been in Top Gun Maverick,
Oh.
and it was very apparent in Falcon and Winter Soldier that Jochen Perez and Sam Wilson are good friends.
hmm
Um, Therese was the Falcon's wingman in the Disney Plus series, though comic book fans will know that he eventually inherits that superhero mantle from Sam after his buddy becomes Captain America. There was questions as to whether or not the same thing would happen in the MCU, And it looks like Julius Ono has now confirmed that it is indeed the plan for the 2024 movie. Thoughts on this zany baby? Happy to see another Falcon showing up. Happy to see dual birds flying through the air. Captain America, wingy American Falcon guy with another Falcon. What are your thoughts?
Double Falcons.
Double Falks.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, personally speaking, I thought that was a given with the first season of Falcon and Winter Soldier, especially when he gives him a set of his wings to repair. I was like,
Yeah,
he's. I just thought he'd be in the finale. He'd be there, like, I got your back, Sam.
yeah. Here's your wings, because Zane said you weren't going to wear them.
Yeah, exactly that.
It's amazing, right? Because I can only remember one part of that entire series of Captain America, and two parts, because I remember Zemo dancing, but the bit where he embeds his wings in the floor and then braces himself with the shield. I just love that so much. It's such a cool shot, and it looked so good as well. And it just really hammered home the fact that I was right.
Here's a thought. When are we going to see more of the Power Broker?
Yeah, good question. I don't know. Daredevil, maybe?
Maybe
Maybe the
Thunderbolts?
Kingpin Power Broker War.
Ooh, I like that.
Thunderbolts is probably a much better bet, actually, for the Power Broker. That's a much better shout. But yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see where Thunderbolts is going to be set. If it's in Madripoor, then we'll definitely see the Power Broker, because that seems to be her area now. But yeah, interesting time ahead. Anyway, that is all the news for this week. All the news that came out, everything that possibly could have happened this week, we've talked about. Possibly not. But guys, if there's anything that we've missed that you wanted to see, then let us know. Zane, where can they get hold of us?
You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at undisputed_nerds. You can also email us nerdsundisputed@gmail.com.
This man, he's got it. Look at it. Unbelievable. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/gentlemanthegamer. You can also find me on Instagram at gentlemanthegamer. As I said it on the main podcast, slide into my DMs. Go ahead. Not with those kind of pics. Zane, it's been a pleasure, my friend. We will be back next week with some more hot tips and bits. And for all the viewers of this special bonus episode, thank you for joining us. And please, by all means, check out our main podcast, Undisputed Nerds, where we talk about Andor this week. And we hope you take care and have a good week.